Billionaire media mogul Tyler Perry announced at the 2022 Earn Your Leisure conference that he underwent a 3-year audit on his finances and tax returns by the IRS. This audit ended recently, and Perry announced that during the audit, it was discovered that he had actually overpaid on his taxes by roughly $9 million. In this video, I'm going to explain all of the key details of this shocking tax news and go over everything that you need to know regarding this situation. Let's go ahead and figure out what happened with Tyler Perry's taxes. Let's dive in. All right, guys, let's go into the background. Into the past few decades, Tyler Perry has become an incredibly successful actor and filmmaker. Throughout his career, he has acted and created dozens of movies, including all of the Madea movies, Gone Girl, Why Did I Get Married, and The Family That Prays. His Madea movies in particular have been extremely successful, with Madea Goes to Jail bringing in over $90 million by itself. Many of the other Madea movies brought in similar figures, but despite the fact that Tyler Perry has become incredibly successful through his works as an entrepreneur and producer, he admitted that finances, and in particular taxes, are not something that he is an expert in, and that he has had often made mistakes. He's speaking about this. He said, "Money isn't something that I had, and nobody taught me that taxes had to be paid. I didn't go to college, but I paid for Harvard many times over in the mistakes that I have made." Tyler Perry is recognizing that he is not a tax expert. He has been using accountants to do his taxes for many years. However, a few years ago, Perry was notified by the IRS that he was subject to an audit and that his tax returns and his financial details would be carefully scrutinized by the IRS auditors. The IRS combed through his finances and tax returns for multiple years. They thought that perhaps Perry might have owed more than he had paid in. But to Perry's astonishment and the astonishment of his tax accountants, it turns out that the IRS actually owed Perry $9 million. Yes, that's right, guys. Tyler Perry has accidentally overpaid the IRS $9 million in taxes, which is more than most people will ever make in a lifetime. Tyler initially was frustrated by how long the audit was taking, and in fact, the full audit took 3 years to complete, and it cost Perry hundreds of thousands of dollars to deal with the audit. But this audit turned out to work in his favor. Let's talk about the fallout from the audit initially. Tyler Perry's accounting team was thrilled because they thought that there was a chance that he would actually end up owing more money to the IRS due to a mistake that they might have made. But Perry did not share their same enthusiasm when the facts came out. In fact, he fired his entire accounting team immediately after learning that the IRS owed him $9 million. This is because although he didn't owe the IRS money, his accountant's work had caused him to overpay by an incredible amount. Despite the fact that Tyler Perry is a billionaire, $9 million is still an extremely large sum of money, and Tyler found it to be completely unacceptable that his team had missed this much money. Speaking about finding out that the IRS owed him all of the money and firing his accountants, Perry said, "All of my accountants come running, said, 'Oh my God, isn't that great? Isn't that great?' I said, 'No, hell no. How did you miss me paying $9 million? So I had to stop going to H&R Block for my taxes at some point." Reflecting on the situation during this whole ordeal, Tyler Perry learned a very valuable lesson that unfortunately many people have to learn the hard way. If your tax professionals make mistakes, they can be extremely costly for you. That is why it is absolutely critical to hire high-quality tax professionals. Taking the time to make sure that you hire the right tax professional can be well worth it in the long run. Undoubtedly, Tyler Perry will choose his next accountants very carefully. And even though Tyler Perry went through a lot of stress during his audit situation and the surprise of finding out that his accountants missed $9 million, he was still able to find some positive during the whole ordeal. He said, "I learned a lot during this process, and it's okay. Listen, in business, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to learn and to have to learn, but do learn. Don't let it keep happening over and over again. And that's one thing about me. I'll let you make a million mistakes, but you can't do the same thing over and over again. And that's how I run my business." So in other words, Perry admits that he's not perfect and that making mistakes is an inevitable part of business. However, he also admits that it can be a serious problem if one of your employees or contractors is making the same mistakes over and over again. At some point, you have to do something to prevent these mistakes from happening repeatedly. So let's talk. What are the most common mistakes made by tax professionals? Other than mentioning the fact that the mistakes were made on Tyler Perry's tax returns and that we didn't go into much detail about the nature of the mistakes that his accountants made on his tax returns, we should be talking about what type of mistakes accountants typically make. I want to take this time to go over some of the most common mistakes that tax preparers make on the tax return. Knowing these mistakes can give you an advantage because it will let you know the main thing that you should be watching out for to ensure you don't end up in a similar situation as Mr. Tyler Perry. Spelling, math, and bank account errors. Tax preparation software helps to cut down on these things, but unfortunately, they still do happen. Occasionally, tax preparers might spell your name wrong, or they might make like a basic math mistake, or they might enter a bank account number incorrectly. Sometimes things like Social Security numbers and EIN numbers also get entered in incorrectly. For this reason, it is important to double check that all the information is entered correctly before you hit the file button. Forgetting to include all interest and dividends is another big thing. Some clients may have many different sources of income, including like interest and dividends from a variety of different sources. Because interest and dividends usually make up a small percentage of someone's income, tax professionals sometimes forget to add this income to the tax returns, or they forget to ask for it. This is especially true if the tax returns are filed early because all the tax documents arrive at different times. Members of my tax course, Tax Alchemy, know exactly how important it is to prevent these sort of mistakes from happening, to avoid hefty penalties from the IRS, and to keep audit risks as low as possible. Another mistake on the returns is failing to deduct charitable contributions properly. Many people make various types of charitable contributions during the year, which is awesome. Unfortunately, though, sometimes the tax professional filing the return forgets to add those deductions for your contributions, or there is not proper documentation in order to prove that the charitable contributions have been made and you're deducting them still. This is something that you should watch out for. Now, let's talk about knowing when to switch tax professionals. If a tax professional misses maybe one or two small things, then this doesn't necessarily mean that you should fire him or her and move on. However, if your tax professional made serious mistakes that resulted in you either owing a large amount of extra money to the IRS or overpaying the IRS by a large amount, then that could mean that it might be time to switch tax professionals. I mean, this is what happened with Tyler Perry, right? It's very unfortunate that Tyler Perry had to go through such a stressful ordeal with his tax returns to find out that he was actually due money back. After all, who wants to work so hard to create an empire only to end up overpaying the IRS by millions of dollars? Luckily, he fixed his tax problem and he'll get all of his money back. But Tyler Perry's situation should serve as a reminder to you that not all tax professionals are equal. Make sure that you only work with a high quality one with an outstanding reputation and track record. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope that you enjoyed something from Tyler Perry's mistakes with his tax returns and with his tax professionals. Hopefully his new legal team is a lot better. Matter of fact, if you guys know him, put him in touch with me. I want to say thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, join the Tax-Free Wealth Challenge by clicking on the link below. The challenge will be going on from November 14th through the 18th. During that time, we'll get to spend some time together going over advanced tax strategies that you can implement prior to year end. I'll see you on the next video.